Well, hey guys, in this episode, Ron Rosson will take us on a tour of the famous red light district in New Orleans known as Storyville. This is located on the north edge of the French Quarter. The same location will find the Black Diamond Club, which was a club owned by Carlos Marcello, and he was anointed boss in 1947. Ron will also take us a few blocks from there to the location of the first battle between the Matranga family and the rival Provenzano family. This happened around the turn of the century. This particular battle will set up Charles Matranga to be the first mafia boss in New Orleans, and the murder of Sheriff Davis Hennessy will result from his investigating these two groups after their battle.
Okay, this area that we're seeing now, this is where Storyville was from late 1897 to 1917. Storyville was basically where they made prostitution legal in the city of New Orleans. It's all now low-income housing. There's nothing left of the original Storyville, except there is one store that was originally part of Storyville. It wasn't a brothel, but it was a bar, I think. It was named after one of the city selectmen, I guess he was, named Arthur Story. His last name was Story. So, and of course, it wasn't a popular move to do this. So, in kind of a mock thing, it was nicknamed Storyville, which really bugged the councilman.
Is this adjacent to the quarter? Is this pretty?
Yeah, if we kept going down that way, we would hit the top edge of the quarter.
Okay, so people would be up the quarter to bars up there, and then come over to Storyville.
Yeah. Which, well, kinda, because at that time, there was no such thing as partying on Bourbon Street or anything. I'm just gonna park for a few minutes till we finish this up. There wasn't any like partying on Bourbon Street or anything like that. Storyville, I mean, there were other bars and stuff throughout New Orleans, but Storyville was kind of a little contained place. You could go there, party, drink, get drunk, find yourself a girl, have a beautiful meal. I mean, that was basically kind of how it went then. You picked what house you wanted to go to, which these were nice houses. I mean, it ranged anywhere from high upscale stuff at Josie Arlington's place, which at the time she was the biggest madam in New Orleans, down to what they called cribs, where it'd be like a 50-cent lay. It's just a room with a bed and that was it, maybe a wash basin. But in 1917, it looked like we were getting into World War I. Department of Defense came down and said, hey, a lot of our guys are going to Storyville and getting the clap, getting gonorrhea. I guess gonorrhea was rampant then. So, basically the government told the city to shut it down, which it was not a popular move with the local government because everybody was making their money. I'm sure a lot of envelopes were changing hands at the time. So, but yeah, it ended in 1917. I mean, and New Orleans has always been known for gambling and prostitution. They say one of the first things that was, brought off the boat when they came here was prostitutes and gambling tables, a deck of cards, that type of stuff. So, it's one of those things that's always happened in New Orleans and it's always been tolerated. You had some reformers here and there, but I'm sure it still happens. It's New Orleans, and you can go to certain sections and see some working girls here and there. So behind us, where this fenced off garage used to be a garage, I'm not sure if it's in operation now, but this is where the Black Diamond nightclub was in 1947. This is where Carlos Marcello was made boss. This was, at the time, this was pretty much strictly black section of town. One of the theories of why they had this nightclub here is because it would make it fairly easy for the mob guys to spot anybody following them.
Yeah.
So, but the story goes is, after after Sam Carollo was deported in 1947, April of 1947, May 5th, they gathered here at the Black Diamond, took a vote on who was going to be boss. There's many members of the family here, but as I understand it, not the whole family. But I guess the cream of the crop, I guess you could say, was here and voted on who was going to be boss.
This is at the corner of Galvez and Conti.
Galvez and Conti, 341 North Galvez Street.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I've searched and searched and searched. There are no pictures of the Black Diamond. There's no memorabilia that I've found of the Black Diamond. I'll keep searching, but who knows. But yeah, I'm not sure when it was torn down and when this garage went there, but that's where it was, right there. This over here was called Tony's Green Room. It was owned by Tony Catalanotto, who was a mobbed up guy. One of the few guys made by Carlos Marcello. For whatever reason, Carlos didn't make a whole lot of guys, and that's one of the contributing factors to the decline of the New Orleans family. But this was owned by Tony Catalanotto. It was called Tony's Green Room. It's mentioned in at least one song, one local song, which I don't remember the name of offhand. But Tony Catalanotto also owned some clubs in Metairie, a section of town called Fat City. It kind of replaced, during the, I guess, 80s and 90s, it kind of replaced Bourbon Street a little bit for the you know, crowd up in that area. Fat City still is technically there, but all the clubs are gone. Anyhow, Catalanotto owned a couple of clubs up there. One was called the Golden Key, which, as I understand it, I haven't been there yet, but as I understand it, is basically a carbon copy of Tony's Green Room. All right, so now we're at the intersection of Esplanade and North Claiborne Avenue. In May of 1890, an ambush of Matranga men happened at this intersection. There was, I don't know, 6 or 7 stevedores of a group of Matranga men who had unloaded a ship. It was late night, it was around midnight. At the time, that area over there was all woods. There was nothing there but woods. As the Matranga men came up in a wagon to this intersection here, shots rang out from the woods, blasting the wagon and all the guys in there. Nobody was killed. The only serious injury was Anthony Matranga, who was the brother of Charles Matranga, and he basically lost his right leg. His right leg was just destroyed. That was the most serious injury. David Hennessy came out and investigated. They found a few shotguns, I think a pistol or two. A couple days later, some Provenzano men were arrested by David Hennessy. Now this plays into the what we were talking about in Lafayette Square. You know, a lot of theories have Hennessy was buddied up with the Provenzanos, but this, you know, arresting the Provenzanos just kind of, you know, put some water on that theory. You know, a couple of the Provenzano brothers were convicted, and a couple of their men were convicted of the ambush on the Matranga men and sentenced to prison. Now, fast forward to October of 1890, there's going to be a retrial of the Provenzano men, and supposedly there's new information in the case. David Hennessy says publicly that he's going to testify in favor of the Provenzanos because of new information that he came across. Apparently no information was ever found in Hennessy's files, and how accurate that was, how much he was going to testify for them, it's not really not really clear. So, but that's one of the theories of what kicked off Hennessy's assassination, is that the Matranga people were pissed off that he was going to do that, and you know, possibly, you know, start investigating them and put them in jail. And so that's one of the theories, which I kind of happen to agree with, that it was some of the Matranga men that did the killing. But again, there's no proof, no hard proof of anything.
Yeah, Provenzano man that did the Matranga man that killed David Hennessy. Okay, all right, I got you.
Yeah.
So Charles Matranga, he is the first boss and longtime boss after the Black Hand days.
Well, yeah, he was, you know, it's thought that basically after the 1890 lynching that Matranga took over the family, and there's really sketchy info, you know, going after that. I mean, there's a lot of bits and pieces here and there, and some of it's not very detailed, so it's a lot of guesswork. But he's considered what would be the first modern boss of the mafia here in New Orleans, as we would kind of think of him. Raphael Agnello was the first guy who you could probably call a boss in New Orleans, but his power was very limited. But it's thought after his Agnello's assassination and his brother Joe's assassination, which they were from the Palermo faction, the Agnellos, the classic home of the mafia. The Matrangas were from Monreale, which is a little town that sits above Palermo. Beautiful little town. In which in Monreale there was a lot of mob activity too. But so they were rival factions, and it's thought that the Agnellos, the Palermo faction, and some other guys, the Messina Trapani faction, they were fighting it out at the time of the 1860s, 1870s. They kind of killed each other off, and it's thought that Salvatore Matranga, Charles' father, he was involved in what was called the Stolpaghieri. That was the faction from Monreale. It's kind of thought that they, after the assassination of the Agnellos, they kind of started, the Matrangas started kind of slowly consolidating power up until, you know, the 1890s, where the Matrangas had taken over a lot of stevedore contracts on the wharfs, and that's really what the Provenzano Matranga friction was all about, was the stevedore contracts, because they were pretty lucrative on the fruit wharfs. Yeah, you see in movies and all that stuff that the mafia controlled all of the docks in New Orleans. Well, that's not really accurate. You know, they were split up into the cotton, fruit, and other stuff coming into the port of New Orleans. Blacks were mainly the people employed on the cotton wharf, Italians on the fruit wharf, and others, you know, whites and other nationalities on, you know, for other wharfs. So basically it was just over, you could call it the fruit wars, you know. And Joseph Macheca, he was a big importer of fruits, and he was, at one time, he was a pretty rich guy. At the time of the lynching, he was down on his luck. But at one time in the 1850s, 60s, 70s, he was a pretty wealthy guy, and he imported a lot of fruit. The Provenzanos originally were unloading his ships. Well, when Macheca kind of teamed up with Matranga, you know, he told the Provenzanos, hey, sorry, you know, but you're out of a job now. Gave it to the Matrangas, and the Matrangas, you know, undercut the going rate at the time, paying their workers. So that's basically what the Provenzano Matranga friction boiled down to, was unloading ships on the New Orleans dock.